guys, this is Lovely, your infidelity and confidence rebuilding coach. And today we're going to hit right into class, right? So, first, let's remember that when we're talking about infidelity, that we are keeping a safe space for everyone involved, right? Because it's such a emotionally charged conversation that not only affects your mental health, your physical health, your financial health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health, it can really cause us to have a very overwhelming and like multi-faceted way of even looking at or dealing with or having a conversation about infidelity. I think that when we're talking about infidelity, a lot of the times people, they are quick to like damn it. They're quick to be like, we're not talking about it. They're quick to change the subject. They're quick to place blame on someone. And that's not why I'm here. As I said in my previous video, I'm here to help you heal, right? And in order for me to help you heal, there's some wounds we're going to have to open a bit to really have an honest conversation about what you've gone through, what we've gone through, the reason why we're even talking about infidelity, right? And in talking about that, then we can get to a place where we're talking about building our confidence, building better boundaries for ourselves, building healthy communication styles, talking about self-esteem, talking about self-confidence, and figuring out ways to make it so that we feel not only seen and heard, but that we feel seen and heard for ourselves, right? Because this healing journey is all about us. It's all about, you will never be able to heal enough to be able to accept what was done to you. That's not it, right? But you'll be able to heal enough to know that you trust yourself enough that if you go through something like this again, you absolutely can and will get past it. And a lot of the times when you're taking classes like a healing through, infidelity and confidence rebuilding 101 class, you're here because you're looking for tools to use so that you have something to work from when you are looking at healing in a more holistic way. I promise you, I I was not holistic in my healing initially. All right. I wanted to hold something, but I'm just, okay. Let's talk about this. Now, why did I specifically make this class for Black women? One, because I'm a Black woman. Two, is Black History Month. Three, I support Black women. I support all women, but I'm not a girl's girl. I'm a girl's girl. Okay. It's two different places, right? You can come here with some BS. I'm not interested. And it doesn't matter the race. But I know that because I'm a Black woman, I've seen infidelity really through a different lens. And I will tell you this, culturally, if you are a first daughter, if you have an ethnic background, especially in the minority race, we have these things in us that were forced on us that we don't want to deal with, right? But I can promise you this. Tell me what it was like when you were going through infidelity. Were you allowed to feel angry? Were you allowed to feel sadness? Were you allowed to feel confusion? And were you allowed to feel self-doubt, right? Because when we're looking at the emotional aftermath of betrayal, those are usually the feelings that we have within us, right? We're asking ourselves all of these questions, right? And we're really trying to figure out how to get this whirlwind of feelings out of either our system, or we want to learn how to break it down. We're trying to figure out, what do I need to do so that I don't feel these things anymore? And the emotions that we have, they can deeply impact how we feel about our self-worth, how we feel about trust in ourselves and in other people. But I want to really talk about how we lose so much trust in ourselves, right? Because that is one of the hallmarks of betrayal. causing you to question what you could have done to make this better, causing you to attach shame to this conversation when you didn't even know you were having the conversation. Babes, you thought you were out here having conversations about window curtains and you were trying to figure out, oh, so are we changing the baby's room from blue into green? But no, you were really talking about a breach of trust. You were talking about a significant breach of trust where now your feelings are no longer validated by the person that you trusted the most. Do you hear what I'm saying, right? I keep going back to trust because one of the largest parts of this conversation that I really want us to focus on is trust, right? Trust in our communication styles, trust in our self-esteem, trust in our confidence, self-confidence, trust in our ability to make good boundaries, trust in our ability to pick good partnership for ourselves, either platonic or intimate. Because when you go through infidelity, that journey it's unique to yourself. Remember what I said before. Your feelings count. Your feelings are valid. Your emotions count. Your emotions are valid, right? And when we are talking about what does healing look like after this, you have to first pump, like, just cut the brakes, babes. You got to go through the grieving process. Now, for a lot of people who are going through infidelity, you don't realize that you were already going through the grieving process prior to to finding out about the infidelity. Because a lot of us, I'm gonna say it and it's gonna hurt. A lot of us weren't surprised that the infidelity was happening. We just were overwhelmed by the feelings and emotions that we had when we found out. Because if you thought that some shit was happening, you were just waiting for confirmation that it happened. And now we have to deal with the emotions that come up out of that, right? How dare you do what? You think you're who? Oh, so you just out here doing everybody. Huh? Donna does Dallas is what we doing. Daryl, he doing Dallas too. Yeah, that's what we're doing. So when we are looking at what it feels like to go through infidelity, especially when it comes to the overall essence of us, right? It it can feel like we don't have enough safe spaces to have enough conversations to be able to express and process what's going on. Because you could be the person that's like, I'm going to work on my marriage. I need tools for myself so that I can help heal. That person's going to therapy. I'm going to therapy. I need some tools in my toolkit so I can work on this, right? You could be the person that's like, nah, bump this. I'm out. I don't like it. I don't like it. Pineapples, I'm out, right? Then you can be the person that's like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I need time to figure out what I want to do, right? And that is, to me, where a lot of us fall. It's like, I want to trust myself enough to know that I can heal through something like this, but I don't want to go through this shit, right? I don't want to go through it. And part of this class is us really learning how to participate in like supportive communities, engaging in open conversation, utilizing our therapeutic practices that we find, going to therapy, having a counselor, talking to your psychiatrist, talking to your pastors, talking to trusted people, mentors, right? People who have gone through some things and will be able to talk to you about what you're going through and how you can really navigate a lot of these challenges in a very constructive way, right? But also learning how to be very mindful of how you feel when you feel it, what part of your body that you feel it in, and giving yourself permission to feel weak because you're not weak. If you're trying to work through this, you're not weak. I don't even know, like, you're not weak, right? Because you're not laying down. You're like, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna figure out why the hell this happened. And I promise you, the why will be the least important thing. It really will, believe me. Because you're going to get to a place where once you heal, the why won't be enough because your spirit is working in a different alignment, right? Your emotional health is working in a different alignment. Your spiritual health is working in a different alignment. Your soul is working in a different alignment. So when people who lie to you talk to you and they try to explain the lie, it's not gonna land. It's not gonna hit well, right? But when we are having this conversation, it's like I want us to remember that the betrayal doesn't define your value or your future. It doesn't. It feels like it while you're going through it, but it does not define your value or your future. You you will feel like your world is falling apart. And don't get me wrong, your heart will be breaking depending on where you were in that relationship. And or you could be like, toodaloo, right? Give me my sippy cup. I'm out. I don't even want to be here anyway. I knew some shit was going on, but I just needed to make sure that I found out the truth before I said, I'm not doing this anymore. But I want to make sure that I offer you an opportunity for introspection, right? Like, how do I work on me? How do I, explore my strength? How do I define my own identity? How do I embrace this period of vulnerability? Um, how do I have profound growth from something like this, right? How do I foster resilience and how do I pivot? How do I rebuild? How do I find a new renewed sense of empowerment for myself? Because if you don't work on you, if you don't find a way for you to not only embrace the discomfort that you're going in, to chart the discomfort that you're going through, to open yourself up to all of your emotions, but not let it lead you, to understand that infidelity has nothing to do with you, right? It's the person's character. And I know it sounds like, well, that just sounds so simple. Logically, if you aren't the kind of person who is going to cheat, you would not understand why a person cheated. Not fully. You may try to come up with some like rational, like, why would you? Maybe they needed a hug from their mama when they were 5. But for real, if you weren't going to do it, you weren't going to do it. If you were comfortable with doing it, you're comfortable with doing it. And when people say, oh, I just fell into it, ask yourself, how many things have you really fallen into? I mean, my husband fell into a manhole once, and he still can't figure out how the fuck that happened. But I'm just saying, right? But in embarking on this path of healing, I want us to remember that you're not alone. That's why this class exists, right? I went through it. Other people went through it. That doesn't mean we should have a kumbaya and be like, oh, this is acceptable. Mm-mm. And I want you to understand that we all have a different range of our depth of acceptance, right? Some people are like, oh, that should happen. Okay, well, you want to talk about it? Okay. Then you have some people who will lose themselves in a situation like this. They will lose who they are. They will not be capable of figuring out why something like this had to happen to them. And my job is to provide you with resources, to find different communities that you can go that are dedicated to supporting you through this process. I am one of those communities, but I am not one of those people who say, you can only be with me. You can only stick with me. You have to find the community that works for you, right? And I want to help you reclaim your self-esteem and move forward in that with your confidence. And I'm not a person who really talks about hope, but I want to help you find your joy, right? Because part of joy, like part of the landscape of joy, is that you can find joy even in sadness. You can find joy even in your melancholy, right? Because it may be the joy that the sun touched your skin. It could be the joy that one of your children laughed. It could be the joy that one of your coworkers brought you a sandwich. It's those little pieces of joy, right? Because joy comes not only in the daylight, but joy comes in the dark as well. So that's why I always talk about whenever I'm talking about betrayal, like before we get into the niche market or the niche conversation of Black women healing, all of us as a whole are trying to figure out what we're going through, why we're going through this. Why would somebody do this to us? And at some point in your healing, you stop asking why and you start asking how, right? You start asking, how can I bounce back from this? How can I pivot from this? How can I find self growth in this? How can I discover more about myself through this? How can I learn to love myself more through this? How can I learn how to build better skill sets through this? How can I take this awful thing that's happened to me and turn this into a springboard for resilience and personal growth, right? And that to me is just top notch, right? When we're talking about what betrayal looks like in the aftermath of betrayal, it's not just that you have to grieve, it's that you have to grieve simultaneously to living, and you are told to swallow that grief so that living can happen in a fuller state. And a lot of us have a hard time doing that, especially when we don't have community, especially when we don't have places to go when we are sad, when we are uncomfortable, when we are angry, when we are raging, right? Or even when you just feel like, I need to talk to people who understand where I'm coming from, who won't judge me for this particular statement. And that is why I talk about infidelity, right? Because there's no one road to talking about this. There are multiple roads, multiple fonts, multiple colors, multiple universe where you can talk about infidelity in so many different ways, right? And where one person may see infidelity as like, it is absolutely a no-go zone. You may have someone else that's like, yeah, this shit happened, but we're human and let's talk about it and figure out how to work it out. And then you may have somebody who absolutely rages out, right? They crash out. And then you have to pull them back in. And that's why we have community and support. That's why we're here talking about these things, because you're not alone in this. And your vulnerability is really a strength, right? And your tears are going to water the earth. It's going to water you. It's going to help you grow and become such a stronger, better person, even though you do not have to go through this to become a stronger, better person. I want you to stop. Let's just say it up front, children. Mm-mm. But also, at the end of the day, I don't want you to go to jail, because what did I tell you? I can't visit you in jail. The clank clank be bothering me. I told y'all in another video. I can't. I don't have it in me. I really don't. But I want us to really think about that, right? I want us to think about what the aftermath of betrayal looked like for you, what it felt like for you. Did you have any support? Were you able to have dialogue? When did you start thinking about therapy, right? Or have you journaled? Have you done any mindful practices? Have you had any constructive conversations to navigate through the challenges that we're going through. And what does it what is it that you're looking for? What kind of healing are you looking for? What kind of emotional support are you looking for? What kind of growth are you looking for? Right. And those are some of the questions that we can ask ourselves every day, do anything that we're going through. So, this is class one. In our follow-up class, we're going to talk about the grief cycle and how it manifests uniquely in Black women. There's a template for that on my website and also in the classroom. That information will be in my link tree that you can go to. And I just feel like we can have such a great conversation while not condemning each other for what we're going through. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.